A, first of all, would you hate me if I did talk to him? B, no. Last time I talked to him was a while ago. Last time I had an actual physical conversation with him was at the funeral. Not going to talk about that because it did not go the way that it could have gone, but it went a lot better than it could have gone. So there it is. It went the way it went.
Hi, besties. Okay, Kody Brown is going to have this like apology tour that Christine Brown has already mocked on social media. She's mocked it in interviews. She says she doesn't even know what it is. She said it's all part of a agenda by Kody, and the apologies aren't really real. She has made clear that Kody is still estranged from his children. And recently, Peyton Brown went live, and he said that he has not seen his father physically since they laid Garrison Brown to rest in Montana, which I think was in July of 2024, meaning the last time he saw his father, they were filming for the show. And unless they film for the show, he does not see his father. Kody has zero relationship with his kids unless they're filming. It's again further proof that he did something at this funeral that caused massive backlash from the family, but it also proves that his entire agenda of going on this apology tour is fake and his remorse about Garrison is fake. He's learned nothing. And I got a better idea of Kody by reading Christine's book. And I think I've reported on this in the past, but let's tie it back together here. Christine in the book discusses that Kody got very paranoid and controlling when it came to the show as everything began to fall apart in his family. And as people started to speak up on the show and share their points of view that were not favorable, either of Kody or Robyn or whoever, it made Kody angry. And he wanted his family, he and Robyn, to not be portrayed as villains, or he didn't like that people were speaking unfavorably about him. And so he wanted to silence them. We already know that they tried to get the kids locked into NDAs. They threatened to sue them through TLC. That didn't work. Christine, I thought, would address that in the book, but she didn't. But Peyton has mentioned it. And in the book, Christine says that when she would say something on the show, or if her kids said something on the show that wasn't favorable to Kody, she would get punished or her kids would get punished. So she had a hard time on the couch biting her tongue, and things that were said on the couch when they would all sit together and they would be provoked and pushed by the producers to answer questions would cause backlash at home, because in real life, they would never have these conversations. So one way that the show changed the dynamic in the family was that in the real world, they didn't have the opportunity or the mirror to see what Kody was doing with his other wives. And on the show, they got a window into Kody's lives when he wasn't with them. So they would see Kody at Meri's, Kody at Robyn's, Kody at Janelle's, right? And you start to see how he treats people, what his relationships are like. You see different, events that they're going to or behaviors. You're watching a discrepancy. You're seeing things that you can't unsee. And then once the episode happens, she discusses how the producers would be sitting them down and asking them to talk about what happened. So if something occurred that made Christine upset, or if Christine and Kody had a fight, then they would be provoked by the producer to answer more questions about it. So then she would be pushed to speak by the producers. And then when she would say something, if Kody would see it on the show after the fact, so maybe if she's being interviewed not in front of Kody and she's doing like a one-on-one, and then he finds out what she says, she would get punished. So he would take away time with the kids or time away from her or money from her. Okay. And that her kids would get punished too if they spoke up as well. And so it was less about the faith, and it was more about Kody wanting everyone to think that he walked on water, and he didn't like hearing anything negative about him. And it was like a betrayal to him, which is why he started demanding patriarchy and everyone conform to him and be loyal. The disloyalty had nothing to do with disloyalty to COVID rules. It was about a disloyalty to him in that they spoke badly about him. And when they first started filming, she writes about how they would try to keep everything as kind as possible because they didn't want to be rude to one another and they didn't want to put out anything negative about someone publicly. But then they realized that emotions would get the better of them. So what would happen was they tried their best to look like a united front, and then they would be shown clips or footage, and then the producers would ask questions about what they thought about Robyn, what did they feel about Kody bringing in another wife. They were asked their opinions about what they thought about Kody giving something to someone else, or how they felt about what he was doing with Robyn, or if there were issues within these dynamics, right? And they had to get very creative with asking questions to get responses from them because at first they wouldn't give them anything. And then eventually the producers start noticing there's all of this animosity towards him adding this new wife. And that becomes kind of this storyline of the struggle of blending in a new wife and dealing with the dynamics of adding a new woman and feeling the jealousy. Now, before the show, they weren't able to see inside each other's houses. And they also didn't talk about anything ever. And on the show, they had to sit there on a couch and talk about how they felt, oftentimes in front of one another, which caused serious problems for Kody. Kody would get mad because he didn't want to hear anything that he didn't want to hear. And prior to the show, none of the women had a say in anything. So they didn't get to express all of their feelings this way. They were never allowed to even think about their jealousies. They weren't allowed to verbalize their sadness or their hostility or their frustrations. And the producers gave them that opportunity. And so the only way they could get through it is if they pretended like nothing happened and they were just super happy all the time. Or if they did speak up, like when she did, he would cut her off. So she also wrote about how things would happen on the set, meaning while they were filming,